The sun had barely begun to set, casting a soft golden hue over the family gathering. The room was filled with laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the soft hum of background chatter. But Anna, standing quietly in the corner, felt an invisible weight settle on her chest. She had overheard something she wasn't meant to hear, a passing comment that would sting far longer than any casual remark should. Her brother, with his arm wrapped around his fiancée's shoulders, had laughed and said, "Oh, don't mind Anna. She's just the weird sister, you know. Always doing her own thing." The words replayed in her mind, each repetition carving deeper into her heart. The worst part wasn't the words themselves, but the tone, the effortless cruelty, the casual dismissal. It wasn't the first time her brother had made her feel like an outsider, but it was the most direct. For years, she had been the invisible one, the odd one who didn't fit neatly into their perfect family image. She could already feel the familiar rush of heat flood her face. The sting of being reduced to just a label, a weird sister, was unbearable. Anna turned away, fighting back the sting of unshed tears. How could he say that? Why didn't he care? In that moment, the warmth of the room seemed to fade away, replaced by a suffocating cold. The laughter, once comforting, now felt like a taunt. She had always been the other, the one who never seemed to belong. But hearing her brother say it so casually, like it was something everyone agreed on, it hurt more than she expected. Anna sat quietly by the window, her mind racing with emotions she couldn't easily label. It wasn't just the hurtful words her brother had casually thrown out. It was the years of feeling invisible, of being the odd one in the family. Each family event seemed to drive the wedge between her and them further. She was always the quiet one, the one who didn't conform to the neat family image. Every gathering seemed to highlight her differences, as if her role was to be the outsider to their perfect picture of family life. She had learned to bury those feelings for years, hoping that one day the warmth would come. But it never did. Instead, it felt like the more she tried to fit in, the more distant she became. Her brother's words felt like the breaking point, but deep down, Anna knew she had been pushed to the edge long ago. Her desire to be understood, to be accepted, had slowly withered into resignation. Anna's thoughts began to spiral, her mind racing with every possible scenario of what to do next. The pain of being reduced to the weird sister cut deeper than she had anticipated. She had never really been a part of the group, always existing on the outskirts, observing from a distance, trying to make herself smaller so the gaps in their family dynamic wouldn't seem so glaring. The more she thought about it, the more she realized just how long she had allowed herself to be invisible. Her brother's comment had cracked open all the memories she had tried to bury. He was the golden child, the one who always knew what to say, always knew how to fit in, to make everyone laugh. And then there was her, awkward, often misunderstood, always a little too offbeat for their structured world. But that had always been her. Anna was the one who didn't have it all together, the one who didn't blend in with the others. She had accepted it because for a long time, it felt like the only choice. But now, with that one simple comment, the anger that had been simmering inside her for years began to rise, raw and uncontained. Why had she let it go on for so long? Why hadn't she spoken up before? She couldn't keep this bottled up any longer. The longer she sat there, the more she could feel the familiar rush of heat in her chest, the tightness in her throat. She wanted to scream, to demand answers, to ask her brother why it had to be like this. But instead, she closed her eyes, exhaling deeply, trying to steady her breathing. The anger, while intense, was also mixed with something far more unsettling: disappointment. She had always thought that maybe, just maybe, her family would see her for who she really was, that they would appreciate her quirks, her differences, the things that made her unique. But it wasn't like that. It never had been. She had hoped for some recognition, for some acknowledgement, but it had always felt like she was playing a game she could never win. She had to face the truth. Her brother saw her as an afterthought, an amusing, quirky side character in his story. He didn't see her as equal. He never had. As the realization settled in, Anna stood up from the window, determination in her eyes. She was done. Done playing the part of the silent observer. Anna walked back into the main room, each step purposeful, as if shedding the last remnants of her silence with every movement. The laughter still echoed around the room, but it no longer seemed welcoming. It felt foreign now, almost suffocating. She was no longer content to remain the quiet, overlooked sister. The moment she had overheard her brother's comment had broken something inside her, and now she couldn't go back. As she walked into the circle of family, her brother caught sight of her first. His smile faltered slightly, sensing something was off. He opened his mouth to say something, but Anna was already speaking. "You know, I've had enough of being the weird sister," she said, her voice steady but loud enough for everyone to hear. A hush fell over the room. She continued, not caring that every eye was now on her. "Maybe you all don't realize it, but I'm always the one on the outside. The one who's too much, or not enough, or just plain strange." Her words hung in the air, bold and unapologetic. She wasn't going to hide anymore. She wasn't going to shrink away from her truth. The following days were a whirlwind of tension and uncertainty. Anna avoided her family, locking herself in her room to process the chaotic events of the gathering. The truth was out, but she hadn't fully reckoned with the aftermath. She couldn't stop replaying the scene in her mind, her brother's startled expression when she confronted him. The silence that followed her words was deafening, like the room had been holding its breath, unsure of what would come next. She didn't know what she was expecting. An apology? An explanation? But the most troubling thing was the feeling of emptiness that had settled over her. She wasn't sure where to go from here. Should she wait for the family to acknowledge the shift in dynamics, or should she take the next step and break free from her silent role? Her heart ached at the thought of losing the connection she once had with her family, but deep down she knew something had changed forever. The emotional distance between them was too wide now, and no amount of pretending would close it. That evening, her mother knocked gently on Anna's door, her voice soft but persistent. "Anna, can we talk?" The words echoed in Anna's mind, each syllable loaded with the expectation of an explanation. She hesitated, unsure of what to say. She wasn't ready to confront her mother, not yet. But the longer she stayed in her room, the more the silence between them grew. Her mother's voice was now a constant presence in her mind, urging Anna to let go of the anger and speak openly. With a heavy sigh, Anna stood up and opened the door. Her mother stood there, her face lined with concern, but also a hint of confusion. "I don't understand, Anna," her mother said softly. "Why didn't you come to us with this? We could have helped." The question stung, and Anna fought the urge to scream. Help? How could they have helped when they had never truly seen her? How could they help when they had always dismissed her feelings as just another phase? But instead of yelling, Anna closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and began to speak. Anna took a deep breath and looked her mother in the eye. "I've felt invisible for so long, Mom. It's like I'm just a background character in our family's story. You all have your roles, your perfect roles, and I'm just the odd one out." Her mother's face softened, but Anna could see the confusion in her eyes. She wasn't understanding. "We never meant for you to feel that way," her mother said gently. "You've always been important to us, Anna. But maybe you've never felt like you belong because you've been holding back." Anna shook her head, feeling a swell of frustration rise. "You don't get it. It's not about me holding back. It's about me being seen, truly seen. Not just as your daughter, but as me. You don't see the real me, just the version you want me to be." Her mother stepped forward, placing a hand on Anna's shoulder, but Anna stepped back, shaking her head. "I'm done being the version you want me to be. I just want to be seen." The conversation with her mother lingered in Anna's mind for hours, but it did little to ease her internal chaos. Instead, it added layers of complexity to her emotions. She had tried to explain herself, to make her mother understand, but the gap between them felt wider than ever. It was as if her mother's love was conditional, tied to the version of Anna she was comfortable with. That night, Anna sat on her bed, staring at her phone, contemplating whether or not to reach out to her brother. He hadn't said much after the confrontation, other than a terse apology before retreating into his own world. But Anna knew that wasn't enough. If they were going to rebuild their relationship, he needed to understand why her words had stung so deeply. She needed him to see her for who she truly was, and not just as the weird sister. With trembling fingers, she typed out a message, her heart racing. "We need to talk." The next morning, Anna woke to a message from her brother. His words were simple, but they carried a weight that immediately made her heart sink. "I'm sorry. Can we meet later to talk?" Anna wasn't sure how to feel. The apology wasn't the moment of clarity she had hoped for, but it was a start. She agreed to meet him at the park later that afternoon. As she walked through the park, the familiar sounds of children playing and birds chirping did little to calm her nerves. Her brother had always been a symbol of what she wasn't: confident, well-liked, always the center of attention. Now, as she waited for him to arrive, she wondered if they could ever bridge the gap that had formed between them. Could they rebuild their relationship, or was it too late? The thoughts swirled in her head, and before she knew it, she saw him walking toward her. His face was unreadable, but there was a softness in his eyes that hadn't been there before. The park was quiet, with only the sound of distant chatter and birds overhead, as Anna waited for her brother. She shifted on the bench, her legs feeling restless, but she kept herself still, trying to focus on calming her racing thoughts. Her brother had always been the easy one, the one who knew how to blend in, to charm everyone around him. But now, standing at the edge of this fragile, broken relationship, Anna wasn't sure what to expect. The years of being the weird sister, of not fitting in, had left a mark on her. She was used to being the outsider, the one who never quite belonged. But now, with the growing tension between her and her family, she couldn't pretend anymore. She couldn't just smile through the awkward silences or laugh off the dismissals. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, and she quickly glanced at it, hoping it was him. It was. "I'm almost there," she breathed out slowly. The moment had arrived. There would be no more pretending, no more silences. She would finally make him understand. She stood up from the bench as he approached, his face serious but guarded, just like hers. Her brother arrived with his usual confidence, but there was something different in his eyes. He looked uncertain, almost apologetic. "Hey," he said, stopping in front of her, his hands in his pockets. The tension in the air was thick, and Anna felt it like a physical pressure on her chest. She swallowed hard, trying to steady herself before she spoke. "Why did you say that, Ethan?" she asked, her voice steady but heavy with emotion. "Why did you call me the weird sister?" Her brother hesitated, his eyes darting away for a moment before he finally looked back at her. I didn't mean it like that," he started, his tone softer now. "I was just joking around. You know how I am." Anna shook her head, her heart pounding in her chest. "No, Ethan, it wasn't just a joke. You've always made me feel like I'm not part of the family, like I'm just different." His face softened, but the guilt in his expression didn't seem to fully reach her. "I never meant for you to feel that way," he said quietly. "But maybe you're right. I haven't always been there for you." His words hung in the air, and for a moment, Anna wasn't sure how to respond. Anna took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlwind of emotions inside her. She had always hoped for moments like this, where the misunderstanding would be cleared up, where they could talk and finally see each other. But now that it was happening, it felt hollow. "I don't want an apology," Anna said, her voice quieter but still firm. "I want you to understand what it feels like to be ignored, to be pushed aside because I'm not what you or the family expect. I'm not like you, Ethan, and that's okay. But for once, I need you to see me, really see me." Her brother's expression faltered, a mix of guilt and realization crossing his face. He stepped closer to her, his voice softer. "I've been a jerk, haven't I? I never realized how much I hurt you, Anna. I thought I was just joking. I thought you knew I didn't mean anything by it." Anna met his eyes, her heart heavy but hopeful for the first time in a long while. It wasn't just a joke, Ethan. It's everything. The way you always just left me out. The way you've never really seen me for who I am. There was a long pause, and for a moment, the only sound was the wind rustling through the leaves. I'm sorry, Ethan finally said, his voice full of regret. I wish I had seen you sooner. Anna felt a wave of relief wash over her, but it was tempered by the complexity of what had just unfolded. Her brother was finally acknowledging the hurt he had caused, but it didn't fix the years of emotional neglect. I'm glad you see that, Anna said softly. But this doesn't change everything overnight. I've been holding on to this pain for so long, Ethan, and it's not just about you, it's about the whole family. I've never felt like I belonged. Not really, I was always the odd one out, and now, after everything's happened, I'm not sure how to move forward. Ethan reached out, placing a tentative hand on her shoulder, his touch gentle, like he was unsure of what to do. We'll figure it out, he said. One step at a time. I want to make it right, Anna. I really do. Anna looked up at him, her heart conflicted. She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that things could be different. But trust wasn't something that could be restored overnight. It would take time, and Anna wasn't sure how much time she had left to give. As they walked together through the park, their conversation shifted to lighter topics, but Anna could still feel the weight of the moment pressing on her chest. She knew the path to healing wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be quick. But it was a start. I can't promise that everything's going to be okay, Anna said quietly, as they walked side by side. But I'm willing to try if you are. Ethan nodded, his face serious but hopeful. I'll try, Anna. I'm sorry for everything. I didn't understand, but I do now. I want to make things right. They walked in silence for a few moments, the tension between them finally starting to ease. It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it was progress. And for the first time in a long while, Anna felt a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, things could be different. The days following her conversation with Ethan felt strangely suspended. While things weren't perfect, there was a sense of something shifting, a change that Anna had been waiting for. But as she sat at the family dinner table that evening, the weight of the situation hit her again. Her mother and father sat across from her, exchanging polite conversation with Ethan and his fiancée, as if nothing had changed. No one mentioned the conversation Anna had had with her brother. It was as though they had all agreed, silently, that the issue would resolve itself. But Anna couldn't ignore the simmering tension inside her. The feeling of being unseen, of being dismissed, still lingered. She had to confront it. She couldn't just let things go back to the way they were, pretending like nothing had ever happened. Can we talk? She said suddenly, her voice cutting through the conversation. Everyone paused, looking at her in surprise. Ethan looked particularly tense, his jaw tightening as he waited for her to continue. She swallowed, the knot in her stomach tightening, but she wasn't going to back down now. I don't want to pretend that everything's fine when it's not. Her words hung in the air, heavy and unresolved. The room seemed to hold its breath as everyone processed what Anna had just said. Her mother's face softened in a way that made Anna's heart ache, but there was a flicker of something else in her eyes, a concern perhaps, or a fear that Anna was about to bring up things that would be difficult to face. Anna, her mother said cautiously, what's on your mind? Ethan shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his hands gripping the edge of his chair, his face unreadable. Anna felt all eyes on her, the weight of their gaze pulling her down, but she stood her ground. I'm tired of being overlooked, she began, her voice gaining strength. I'm tired of feeling like I'm just the weird sister, the one who doesn't belong. I've been hiding behind this role you've all assigned me for so long, and I can't do it anymore. Her mother's expression flickered, her lips parting as if to speak, but Anna continued, her words spilling out now. I don't know if you've ever really seen me, but I need you to now. I need to be me, not some version of myself that you think is okay. Her mother's face softened, but the silence stretched on, making Anna wonder if she had gone too far. She had hoped for a reaction, a response, even if it was uncomfortable. But what she got instead was a quiet, almost defeated sigh from her father. Anna, her father began, his voice low, we never meant for you to feel like this. We've always loved you, But maybe we haven't been the parents you needed. The words felt like a balm on a wound that had been left to fester for too long. Anna's heart wavered at the sincerity in his voice, but she couldn't let herself be swept away by it. "I know you love me," she said quietly. "But love isn't enough if it doesn't come with understanding. I've spent so long trying to be a part of this family, trying to fit in, but all I've ever gotten is silence or dismissal." Her father looked away, the regret in his eyes palpable. But Anna knew this conversation was just the beginning. "I need more than that. I need to be seen, to be heard." The conversation continued in fits and starts, with moments of silence and moments of breakthrough. Her mother apologized, her voice full of regret. "I didn't know, Anna. I didn't know how much you were holding inside." It was the acknowledgement Anna had been waiting for, but even as she felt the weight of the apology, something inside her remained distant. "I didn't want to hurt you," her mother continued, "but I see now how much I've missed, how much I've failed to see you for who you really are." Anna looked at her mother, her eyes searching for the sincerity she desperately needed. "It's not enough to say you didn't know," Anna replied, her voice tight. "You can't just tell me you love me. You have to show it, and I need you to understand the damage that's been done." The room fell silent again, but this time it wasn't uncomfortable. It was a space where something was beginning to change, where the family might begin to rebuild, piece by piece. As the evening wore on, the conversation shifted again. The walls that had stood between Anna and her family for years were beginning to crumble, but there was no denying that rebuilding them would take time. They couldn't undo the years of silence, but they could begin to build something new, one conversation at a time. Anna stood up from the table, her heart lighter than it had been in years, but there was still work to be done. "I'm not saying that everything's fixed now," she said, looking at each of them in turn, her voice firm but hopeful. "But we've started something tonight, and that's a step in the right direction." Her mother nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, while her father simply said, "Well, keep trying, Anna. We won't give up." Anna felt the weight of those words. She wasn't sure what the future would hold, but for the first time in a long while, she felt the possibility of change. In the weeks following the dinner, things didn't fall into place immediately. Anna began talking more with her mother, yet the scars of the past remained. Her family's attempts to reconnect felt forced at times, but she could see the effort, especially from Ethan. Still, trust was hard to rebuild. She would walk into family gatherings, but the ghosts of old comments and dismissals always lingered. Yet with each passing day, the air was lighter. Her brother, once distant, now tried to engage with her more than ever before. The question lingered in her mind: could she truly forgive them all, or would the years of neglect define her forever? One Saturday afternoon, Anna and Ethan met at their old cafe, the one they used to visit often when they were kids. The air was crisp, and as they sat down, an uncomfortable silence settled between them. Ethan broke the quiet. "I've been thinking about what you said, Anna," he started, his voice quiet. "I've been a terrible brother. I didn't realize how much I hurt you. I should have seen it sooner." Anna listened, her eyes steady, but her heart was cautious. "I'm glad you see it now," she replied. "But it's going to take time. Trust isn't something that happens overnight." As Anna walked through the park that evening, the weight of the conversation with Ethan settled deeper inside her. His apology felt real, but the question still remained. Could she forgive him, and everyone else, for the years of silence? She paused, looking out at the fading light. Could I ever forgive myself for allowing this to continue? She wondered. As the cool breeze touched her face, she realized it wasn't just about forgiving them. It was about forgiving herself for letting the hurt define her. Slowly, she began to understand that forgiveness wasn't about erasing the past, but choosing to move forward, free from the weight of it. A week later, the family gathered for dinner again. This time, the tension wasn't as heavy. Anna found herself laughing, engaging, and for the first time in a long while, she felt part of the conversation. After the meal, her mother pulled her aside. "Anna," she said softly, "I've been thinking about what you said, about how we've never truly seen you." Her mother's voice cracked slightly with emotion. Anna's heart softened as she listened. "I know we've failed you," her mother continued. But I want you to know I see you now." Anna felt the weight of her mother's words, and for the first time she believed it. "Thank you," Anna whispered, her voice thick with emotion. As the evening came to a close, Anna sat back, watching her family interact. The laughter in the background no longer felt foreign. She was no longer the weird sister. She was just Anna. She could feel the shift within herself. The old walls she had built slowly crumbling. There was still work to be done, but the foundation had been laid. As she stood up and looked out the window at the moonlit night, a sense of peace washed over her. The path ahead wasn't perfect, but it was hers to walk, and for the first time in a long while, she was ready. Weeks passed, and Anna found herself adjusting to the new family dynamics. Ethan had been trying, but Anna still couldn't fully shake the feeling that there was more to be said. One evening, on the porch, she turned to him. "Ethan, do you really get it?" she asked, her voice uncertain. "What I went through all those years?" He looked at her, guilt in his eyes. "I'm trying, Anna. I wasn't there when you needed me, but I want to be now." His sincerity made Anna pause, but the question still lingered. Could the distance between them ever really close? Later that week, Anna sat down with her parents. The familiar tension lingered, but there was a soft acknowledgement of the past. "I felt invisible for so long," Anna said, her voice quiet but firm. "And I'm not sure how to just let it go." Her mother reached across the table, her hand warm and apologetic. "We didn't know, Anna, but we see you now. We're sorry." Anna met her mother's eyes, her heart heavy but filled with something new, hope. "I need you to understand that this will take time," she replied, her voice steady. Days later, Anna reflected on the conversations with her family. She had hoped for immediate healing, but it was clear the process would be slower than expected. "It's not just about forgiveness," she whispered to herself one evening. "It's about finding a way forward without the past weighing me down." Walking alone through the park, she realized that healing wasn't just about reconciling with them, it was about reconciling with herself. Forgiveness, she understood now, wasn't an end, but a beginning. A few days later, Anna and her mother stood together in the kitchen, a peaceful silence hanging between them. "How are you really doing, Anna?" her mother asked, her voice filled with genuine concern. Anna looked at her mother, the weight of the past and present in her gaze. "I'm okay. It's hard, but I'm learning to let go." Her mother smiled softly, her eyes filled with understanding. "I'll always be here to listen, even if I don't always have the right words." Anna nodded, a sense of quiet comfort settling in. For the first time, she felt truly heard. 1 week later, the family gathered once again. This time, Anna felt lighter, as if something had shifted. As she stood in front of everyone, she spoke with quiet strength. "Thank you for seeing me," she said, her voice steady. "It's not perfect, but it's a start, and that's enough for me." The room was silent, but the weight of her words lingered. This wasn't the end of the journey, but the beginning of something new, something hopeful. The weeks following the dinner were quieter, but in a way that felt peaceful. Anna no longer felt the weight of her past decisions pulling at her. The healing wasn't perfect, but it was happening. She had started to rebuild her relationship with her family, though some things would always remain unspoken. Still, there was a new sense of connection. One evening, as she sat in the living room, Anna found herself reflecting on how far she'd come. She'd learned that healing wasn't about erasing the pain. It was about learning to live with it and making peace with it. Her relationship with her brother was still a work in progress, but Ethan was trying, and that was all she could ask for. She wasn't the same person she had been a few months ago. There was a new clarity in her life, one that she was ready to embrace fully. A few days later, Anna received a text from her mother. "We're planning a family get-together this weekend. Just a small gathering, nothing fancy. Would love for you to come." Anna hesitated for a moment, unsure if she was ready. The last time they had all gathered, the weight of the past had been too heavy. But this time, it felt different. She had changed, and they had changed too. Her heart beat a little faster as she typed a simple response. "I'll be there." That weekend, as she walked into the house, she noticed the subtle difference in the air. It wasn't just the lightness in her step. It was the way her family greeted her with smiles that reached their eyes. They weren't just offering empty pleasantries anymore. They were present with her. For the first time, Anna felt like she belonged. As the evening wore on, Anna found herself laughing more than she had in months. Her brother, Ethan, was there, and they had an easy conversation about work, life, and everything in between. For once, there was no tension, no lingering awkwardness, just two siblings reconnecting. It was simple, but it felt monumental. As they stood in the kitchen, Ethan looked at Anna, his expression a mix of gratitude and recognition. "I know things aren't perfect, but I think we're finally getting somewhere," he said quietly. Anna nodded, her heart full. "Yeah, we are." And for the first time, she believed it. The path had been long, but it felt like they were finally walking it together. Later in the evening, as the family gathered in the living room, Anna realized something. She wasn't just accepted. She was celebrated. Her family wasn't perfect, and there were still things they had to work through, but they were no longer dismissing her, no longer trying to fit her into a mold she could never fill. Anna looked around the room at her parents, her brother, and even the fiancé, all gathered together, and for the first time, she felt truly seen. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice filled with emotion. "For being here, for listening, for trying. It means everything to me." Her mother reached over, squeezing her hand. "We're here for you, Anna, always." Anna smiled, her heart full of gratitude. She had found a new peace, and she was ready to embrace the future with her family. As the evening came to a close, Anna stepped outside for a moment, looking up at the night sky. The stars seemed to shine brighter tonight, as if reflecting her own sense of clarity. She had finally found peace with her past, with her family, and with herself. It wasn't about forgetting or erasing the hurt. It was about moving forward, knowing that she was no longer defined by the roles others had assigned her. "I'm finally free," she whispered to herself, a smile tugging at her lips. It wasn't just about being the weird sister anymore. She was Anna, and that was enough.